So when I think of Mount Rushmore and any kind of national monument or museum, the first thing that I'm reminded is that they defy a single interpretation. They're actually layered with different interpretations depending on the political context, depending on the eye of the beholder, right? And so the master narrative, the main thing that we usually learn about Rushmore is that it's celebrating the political virtues of 4 of this nation's leaders. But in recent years, increasingly the productive virtues of the people who actually carved in that stone and went to great heights and swung from the scaffolding. So the productive virtues of the people who actually did it actually inspire a lot more visitors. So people have sort of surveyed and talked to those who are going, and so it's, you know, not necessarily just the people on the stone, but the people who carved the stone that are increasingly inspiring. But for some people, it's just a tourist attraction. In fact, that was the original intention. And so there's no virtues associated with it. It's just a place to go, say you've been, get a postcard, take a picture. And then on the other extreme, actually, it's the opposite of virtue. For many people, their experience of Mount Rushmore is one in which they're reminded of treaties broken, of land stolen, of ancestors slaughtered. And so we have this wide spectrum of interpretation. And so for me, when I begin to think about the faces that end up there, I remember that in 1935, there were actually many women leaders who were petitioning to have Susan B. Anthony's face on Mount Rushmore, and Congress decided, no, we don't have enough funds for that. So I'm reminded there was a moment there in which the things that we were going to celebrate, the people who we were going to remember as important to this nation, actually there was a choice made about narrowing the scope of that. And then I'm also reminded in 1971 that the American Indian movement went and occupied Mount Rushmore. And they decided, you know what, on that far end, this place is not a reminder of political virtue or productive virtue. It reminds us of the treaty that actually was, broken, in which this land, the Black Hills, were promised to their ancestors for perpetuity. And that was broken, right? And so I know that the leader of that, one of the elders that went with them onto the mountain said something that still resonates with me. And that is that one man's shrine is another man's cemetery, right? And so that again brings the interpretations to a head. And so I think, you know, as students of history, as people who think about, you know, Faulkner's famous words that history isn't dead, it's not even the past, right? That it's a living history that continues to reflect who we think are worthy to remember, what groups of people actually contributed to this democracy. I think that for me, if I had my choice, wave my magic wand, someone who's really important in terms of the formation, forcing this country to live up to its virtues of democracy, its idealism, is actually Harriet Tubman, right? And so for me, I would think that Harriet Tubman's bust, you know, her likeness would be up there as a reminder that, you know, this country was founded on an irreconcilable contradiction, right? We extolled democracy on the one hand, and we enslaved, and we conquered, and we occupied on the other. And she, to me, walks this fine line as an escaped slave who said, you know what, I come out of this history, but I'm going to create a future in which the people who are enslaved are actually going to have a taste of freedom. And so I think that she, if anyone, is worthy to be a reminder of what this nation is about.